Hi, Jules here. We're going to talk about pigeon pose today. It comes up a lot in my weekend courses, mostly in a conversation of like, how are you supposed to do it? Because there's like a regular version and a yin version, and is the shin parallel, and that kind of stuff. Like, what's the shape of the pose supposed to be? And then the other aspect is just the general like stretching, no good type of narrative. So let's just first talk about what pigeon pose is and why you would want to do it. Well, there's a lot of reasons that you want to do it. And I think if you want to figure out how to teach it, you have to figure out what you want to get out of the pose. So, for example, if you're trying to get external rotation, abduction, but it's mostly external rotation, and flexion, where the leg comes up to the chest, you're using it as a range of motion. So it's going to be a stretch or a passive stretch, and it's going to be about achieving a range of motion. So if you do that, we're talking about single pigeon, right? So if you do that at the top of the mat, ideally you would want the shin parallel to the mat so that you get that external rotation. And here would be your pose. Now, most people don't have the range of motion to get all the way to the ground, leg to chest or chest to leg. That's not going to happen for most people. So what are they going to do? They're going to bring their foot in toward their pelvis, which takes this out of external rotation. Now it's more like a little kneeling stretch here. Does that make sense? So this places demand on the range of motion that people don't have. I think sometimes we forget that you can only do the range of motion that's available to you. Yes, you can do stretches and activities to increase that range, but in that moment, you are limited by your range. So the other option, other than bringing the foot in, if you want to get to the ground, is to lean over sideways. Well, that effectively does the same thing. It takes you out of the limit of range of motion and makes it so that you can achieve the pose. This is no big deal. If you want to do your pose like this because you want to teach a nice, stretchy, forward-facing prone pose at the end of a class because it feels good, have at it. Stretching is not bad. It's a great thing to do. Feels good. People enjoy it. It's quieting, all that. But if you're trying to increase range of motion, then you're going to have to pay a little bit of attention to the position of the limbs. So let's look at it on your back. If you're on your back, you're here, right? This is the pigeon. So the shin is parallel to the front of the mat. And I would have to bring this inward. And see, I've got a limit. I can't go all the way to the ground here. In fact, I'm even curling my pelvis up. So I'm using my back to get closer, and that I would be on the floor. Now, it's going to be the exact same thing, right? If I want to get closer, I want to get my knee closer to my chest, and I don't have this range, I will bring my foot toward the pelvis, and now I can do knee to chest, and now it's just flexion. I've taken away the external rotation. So this is basically what you're doing at the front of the mat when your foot is by your pelvis. Again, it's not a big deal. It's just different. If you want to increase range of motion in this direction, you're going to need to keep the limbs aligned in that way. That's all. The other option, of course, would be to come over here, right? Now you're leaning to the side as the equivalent. Okay? So one of the things I like to do, because a lot of times we hold pigeon at the end of class, and let's just say I want to work range of motion. I don't want to hold myself up here forever. It gets tiring. So one of the things that I'll do is I will use a bolster, and I will actually use the back hip extension as the guide for how much to support. I'll always support that back hip. And then from there, I can have the front foot in front leg in external rotation and some flexion. And I can either lean forward to increase that stretch back here, that range, or I could even just work and do some isometrics. That will help quite a bit. This is in a stretched position, so if I press down, I'm isometrically stretching this area. I can do a combination of the two. Feels really good. But anyway, that's a way to target the range. I hope that's clear. Thanks for watching.